This is Conor McGregor, born into a working-class family from the suburbs of Dublin. At one point, he was a plumber living on social welfare. In 2021, Forbes named him the highest-paid athlete in the world. That year, he had a net worth of $180 million. Conor McGregor is one of the most dominant fighters in UFC history. A two-division champion in UFC, he was for a time considered the king of combat sports, living a lavish life and earning a 9-figure payday with the help of a dubious boxing match against Floyd, Money Mayweather. But while McGregor took naturally to the superstar life, it wasn't something he was born into. Coming from a working-class family from the suburbs of Dublin, he journeyed his way through childhood gyms, a stint as a plumber's apprentice, and eventual worldwide fame as the most notorious fighter on the planet and the biggest name in the UFC. This is the story of McGregor's rise to the top of the world. Conor McGregor was born on July 14, 1988. He would spend his youth in Crumlin, a suburb of Dublin. In Dublin, he would meet his now longtime coach, John Kavanagh. After going into one of Kavanagh's gyms, McGregor beat up two of the best fighters there in a sparring session that he took a bit too seriously. Kavanagh responded by pinning him and throwing heavy blows until Conor promised he was there for training and not for a street brawl. Uninterested in school, he took to plumbing as a trade and did what he could to make a living for some time. There were times when he would work 12-hour days before heading to the gym to train as a fighter. It was around this time that he started dating his longtime girlfriend, Dee Devlin. When he gave up plumbing to train full-time, his parents disapproved of the decision. So much so, he and his father came to blows. He told his father that he'll be a self-made millionaire by the age of 25. McGregor took part in his first MMA match in March 2008 for the London-based promotion Cage Warriors, defeating Gary Morris by TKO in the second round. He would go 4-2 through his first 6 fights before starting the winning streak that would take him to international fame. During that run of early fights, McGregor attended his first ever UFC event and caught Chuck Liddell's attention long enough to snag a selfie. It's the type of encounter McGregor would soon find himself on the other side of often. After his 4-2 start, Conor would win his next 8 fights all within the first 2 rounds and become a 2-division champion of Cage Warriors. Buzz continued to grow and he was eventually booked for his first fight with UFC. On April 6, 2013, McGregor made his UFC debut against Marcus Brimage, winning by knockout in the first round. Just a week before that fight, he had picked up a welfare check for €188 to help him get by. But McGregor took home the prize for knockout of the night and the $60,000 bonus that came with it. Later in life, he would name his boat the 188 in memory of those checks. UFC president Dana White was immediately impressed with McGregor. He said he was blown away by McGregor's debut in Stockholm. It was the beginning of a profitable relationship. From there, Conor's run of dominance continued. He won 5 more fights, 4 of which didn't make it through 2 rounds. He beat Chad Mendes and claimed the interim UFC featherweight championship. This put McGregor in a position to face Jose Aldo in a unification bout for the UFC featherweight championship. In the lead up to the fight, McGregor said he was going to unify the belts, destroy the featherweight division, and take the lightweight division as well. On December 12, 2015, McGregor knocked out Jose Aldo in just 13 seconds. It was the fastest finish ever for a UFC title fight. Again, it was his unstoppable left that did the job. True to his word, McGregor set out to win in the lightweight division, and a fight with Rafael dos Anjos for the title was set for UFC 196 in March. But dos Anjos had to withdraw after breaking his foot, leading former lightweight contender Nate Diaz to step up on short notice to face McGregor. Diaz had been training as a welterweight at 170 pounds, and McGregor decided he would again gain the weight to meet him there, jumping 2 weight classes in just 2 weeks. McGregor was the heavy favorite going into the fight, but would get caught in the second round and end up tapping out after Diaz locked in a rear naked chokehold, giving McGregor the first loss of his UFC career. Despite his shocking loss to Nate Diaz, in 2016 McGregor became the first mixed martial artist to appear on Forbes' list of the 100 highest paid athletes. taking $22 million on the year between his fights with Diaz, Aldo, and a variety of sponsorships. After a series of negotiations that included McGregor being dropped from the UFC 200 for refusing to go on a press tour promoting the fight, McGregor-Diaz 2 was set for UFC 202. The fight was a bloodbath, thrilling fans around the world. It would go down as one of McGregor's most memorable performances in the octagon. In the end, both fighters would once again receive Fight of the Night honors, with Conor winning by majority decision. Just 3 months later, he would challenge Eddie Alvarez for the UFC Lightweight Championship. The fight was set for UFC 205. In the prelude to the fight, McGregor showed his normal confidence, telling his opponent to show up so he could break his face. Conor would win by TKO in the second round and became the first ever fighter to hold UFC titles in multiple divisions. After the win, McGregor said that he would take time off from fighting to wait for the birth of his child. During that time off, McGregor began pushing for a boxing match against Mayweather. Rumors that negotiations were underway began swirling. A month later, it was announced that the fight was officially on. Mayweather and McGregor would meet in the ring in Las Vegas for what would surely be the biggest fight of the year. McGregor made the announcement official with a post on Instagram trolling the undefeated boxer. The build to the fight on August 26 was fast and furious. Both Mayweather and McGregor set out on a 4-city tour to promote the fight, trading verbal jabs and obscenities along the way. At the next confrontation in front of a particularly frisky crowd in Toronto, McGregor called out Mayweather's rumored illiteracy, much to the delight of those who had gathered to watch the press conference. Experts didn't give McGregor much of a chance to beat Mayweather, with former champion Mike Tyson saying McGregor's gonna get killed. Additionally, some mocked McGregor for training sessions he made public, especially his bag work and his warm-up routine. McGregor never really stood a chance against Mayweather and was eventually dispatched by TKO in the 10th round. But despite the loss, McGregor was still surely pleased with the result, earning a rumored $100 million for his role in the circus of a fight. After the Mayweather fight, McGregor took a bit more time off to enjoy his riches. He went to the 2018 World Cup final and did so as a personal guest of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Conor McGregor announced the launch of his whiskey brand in 2017. A year later, the Irishman launched the brand with the name Proper 12. Proper 12 Irish Whiskey became Conor McGregor's first business venture outside combat sports. Riding on the sportsman's showmanship, the brand generated around $1 billion in revenue just in the first year of its sales. But soon enough, there was reason to tease his return to the UFC. His natural opponent was Khabib, the undefeated Russian fighter who had taken over as champion of the lightweight division in McGregor's absence. Things came to a head when McGregor bizarrely attacked a bus Khabib was on ahead of UFC 223, leading to several injuries to other fighters. McGregor would later explain that he was acting to protect his teammate Artem Lobov, who was confronted by Khabib at a hotel. McGregor would be taken into custody and charged with an assault for his attack, but ultimately got off relatively unscathed. And thus, the stage was set for a fight between McGregor and Khabib for the UFC lightweight title. UFC even used footage of McGregor's attack on the bus to promote the upcoming fight. At the fight, Khabib dominated McGregor, eventually forcing him to tap out in the 4th round. When the final bell rang, Khabib would leap out of the octagon and start a brawl with some of McGregor's teammates, resulting in suspensions for both fighters. Despite the loss, McGregor was expected to return to the octagon in 2019, having signed a 6-fight deal with the UFC ahead of the Khabib fight. Instead, McGregor shockingly announced his retirement from fighting in March 2019. But as is often the case, McGregor's retirement didn't stick, and he began needling for a rematch with Khabib. But there were other fighters in line for a title shot though, meaning McGregor would have to wait his turn. In the meantime, McGregor had more trouble with the law. In March of 2019, McGregor was arrested after an encounter with a fan in Miami, slapping a phone out of his hand and stomping on it. Then, in April, McGregor reportedly punched an older man in a Dublin pub after he refused a shot of the Irish fighter's whiskey. Eventually, McGregor started focusing on his return to UFC. Longtime UFC contender Donald "Cowboy" Cerrone emerged as a potential opponent. McGregor made quick work of Cerrone, knocking the Cowboy out in just 40 seconds after opening the fight with a devastating shoulder charge and ending it with a brutal series of punches. After the fight, McGregor paid respect to his opponent and even embraced Cowboy's grandmother in the octagon. A few months after the fight, McGregor announced his retirement once again, but it wouldn't last long. By August, he was teasing another potential superstar boxing bout, this time against Manny Pacquiao. But by October, his next UFC bout was in the works, setting up a rematch against Dustin Poirier on Fight Island. McGregor previously beat Poirier in 2014, winning via first-round knockout. The two faced off again at UFC 257, with Poirier winning by TKO in round 2. The internet had a field day with McGregor's loss as he became a meme dubbed Sleepy McGregor. The two then faced off again for the much-anticipated trilogy fight at UFC 264. Poirier again won by TKO with McGregor breaking his leg at the end of round 1. The post-fight interview became one of McGregor's most legendary moments in UFC history.
Your wife is in me DMs, hey baby, hit me back up, I'll chat to you later on. We'll be at the after party, the Win nightclub, baby.
Outside of fighting, his whiskey business became a success. Proper 12 was the sponsor of the Deontay Wilder vs Tyson Fury 2 fight. In 2018, McGregor and the UFC signed a 6-fight contract that also included a Proper 12 presence as a sponsor for every card the Irishman fights on. In 2020, Proper 12 became the 4th most popular Irish whiskey brand globally in terms of sales. Proximo Spirits acquired the majority stake of Proper 12 in a $600 million deal. It is unclear how much Conor McGregor made directly through the deal, but it's going to be quite substantial. He still hasn't retired from fighting yet. After Poirier, there's plenty of other opponents McGregor might take on. He's repeatedly expressed a desire for another shot at now retired champion Khabib. McGregor has also been tied to a potential return to boxing, where a fight against Manny Pacquiao could potentially net $250 million. There's no telling what the future holds for McGregor. In every journey to success, there's a lesson to be learned. So what can we learn from McGregor's rise to the top? His genius lies in his ability to leverage media attention. There's no doubt he's an incredible fighter and has helped the UFC become much more mainstream. Critics will often point out that he's too controversial, overdramatic, and trash talks too much. However, that's the exact reason why he's become so successful. We live in an attention economy. He is a master at getting attention and generating media hype. In the fight game, people don't want to see two fighters get on stage shaking hands. They want the drama, the hype, and the trash talking. It's the buzz around the fight that makes it exciting. And if that hype brings in viewers and media attention, no matter if McGregor wins or loses, he still gets a massive payday. With all that attention, he's become his own brand, ultimately making him incredibly rich and successful. Thanks for staying till the end of this video. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to hit the like button, drop a comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more content like this. Also, be sure to check out our other videos on this channel. Links are in the description, and we'll see you in the next one.